Would you want to crush your goals if you knew that you would hate your life? You probably have a huge list of things that you know you want to get done, and as soon as you finish one, you immediately start the next. There's not enough time. So you optimize your sleep, eat the most nutritious diet, have the perfect routine, and every day you wake up a little closer to your goals and a lot closer to burnout. Can you feel burnout coming? Do you think that you're going to get just a bit more done and then, finally then, you'll rest? But then when you try to rest, you feel agitated and antsy and you can't actually get any recovery? I'm Ben Lacara, a somatic life coach helping people achieve self-mastery without sacrificing themselves in the process. The first thing I want you to know about burnout is that it's non-linear. This is what most people get wrong because they think that the situation that they're in that is not working for them is going to increase in a bad way, but it's predictable, thus they can acclimate to it. I've had so many clients that are in, let's say, a job, and in this job, they're like, man, out of 10, this is a 4 on the badness scale. But my stocks are going to vest in 6 months, and by then it should be a 7 on the badness scale. Then I'll quit, take some time off, and go and find something else after I've recovered. But what actually happens is 2 months into their plan, they're already at this 7 out of 10 on the badness scale, and they want to burn the whole damn thing down. But now they are 2 months closer to vesting, so it's now only 4 months until they get to vest, and they're really feeling the tension of their golden handcuffs. The combination of being closer to vesting while also being already at a 7 makes this whole thing even more of a drag and a bigger pain. If you've lived that example, then subscribe. Everything on this channel is going to be helpful for you. So here's the reframe. People think that burnout is going to approach linearly. They're at this spot that's a 4, and they think, yeah, it's going to increase to a 7, but I can handle that. I know what a 7's like. I've been there, and the gap between 4 and 7, it's not that big. It won't be that big of a deal. But the problem of how that's working is that we're neglecting to realize that burnout happens across time. So we are still the person that is experiencing the 4 out of 10 on the badness scale a day later, a month later, and so forth. So the volume of what we're dealing with is larger. The way this actually ends up working is that burnout isn't the y-axis here. Burnout is the area underneath the line. So you can see for every incremental piece of time that we're going through, carrying the burnout with us. The exhaustion, the I don't want to do this, but here I am, and oh, I'm so close to this goal that I think that I want. That drags our system down, it burns our capacity, and then we have less capacity for the next day, the next week, the next month. So that person who's thinking that, oh, in 6 months, I'll be at a 7, I can get there, it'll be worth it, but in 2 months they're there, it's because it's the area underneath the line. And then if we actually scale out to what the rest of that will look like, we can see that if we look at it as the area of that space, it's way more here in the 2 month span, and then way more as we continue on to this 6 month goal of having stocks vest or whatever it will be. The thing to note now is that burnout will come faster than you think. The second thing I want you to be taking is that you are overestimating your capacity. Now, I know David Goggins, he's an absolute savage, and he's got his 40% rule that will say that everyone, including you, is running at only 40% of their true capacity, and that they actually have all these other resources that they can call on to get the things done that they want to get done. That ends up being true when the thing that you're expending your capacity on is in alignment with your authentic values. However, if you're in some kind of situation like a job that you're deeply uninspired by, creating some kind of thing you really don't care about with people you're not impressed with, then you're just coping and dealing with stuff, and that's not in alignment with something that's really true for you. Your ability to understand your capacity in that situation is deeply impaired because it's not in alignment with who you authentically are. You can prove to yourself right now that you overestimate your capacity. You ready? Think about any time in the past that you've ever burned out. There you go. If you were actually understanding what your capacity was, you would not have burned out because you would not have let it get that far. Have you experienced something like what I mentioned earlier with my clients and their jobs? Or have you been in a situation where there's a family gathering that you don't really want to go to, but you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to go because going wouldn't be as bad as the drama that I would experience of not going? And then you go and you can just see how long it took you to recover from this thing that was just a complete drag on you? Or have you been in a relationship that for you is, it's not very great, but you don't want to start dating again? So then the relationship eventually ends and you can just see how much happier you were maybe a few months later. And in that situation, I bet that you were the person who didn't even end the relationship. Your partner came to you and said, yeah, I'm done. And you were still the person that ended up being happy afterwards. I can say that because I've been there. Don't assume that the next time you're approaching burnout or some kind of thing that you're just coping with, that is going to play out any differently, especially if you've been in this situation where this has happened multiple times. The thing to do here is difficult because it's to stop earlier. Quit. Call the project good enough. Determine what your minimal viable product is and stick with it. When you're going to go visit your parents, don't stay at their place. Instead, get an Airbnb and go visit them and then retreat back to your Airbnb that you're staying at. Or if you know that your relationship isn't really working for you, proactively have hard conversations with your partner about your lack of being sure and that there's things in the relationship that aren't working for you. You're not sure what the solutions are, but you want to try and have a conversation. All of these will feel wrong because you're used to working yourself to the bone and being absolutely exhausted before you allow yourself to rest or ask anyone for help. Don't let it get there. What progress looks like is choosing to stop one day earlier. And then the next time it comes around, you stop 2 days earlier. And the next time 3, and so on. Progress isn't this fantasy of waking up and suddenly being different, having all your capacities and you were out of nowhere motivated to do all the things that you need to get done but don't really want to. Progress is going, okay, this hasn't been working. I can assume that a week from now it's also not going to be working. What can I do now to help extricate myself from this situation? Oh, I noticed a little bit earlier. Cool. Let's try to make a change now. So burnout is nonlinear and you're overestimating your capacity. If you combine these two things, your path to ineffective ruin is predictive and obvious. So what else can you do? For burnout being nonlinear, what I want you to do is make your prediction about how much time it'll take until you hit your breaking point and you need to call it. Take that time and divide it in half. And now act like that is your reality. Act like that is truly what the amount of time is that you have left. This can be difficult. It's an act of humility, and make your plan for what you need to be doing to change your situation in anticipation of there being less time. If you try this and it turns out that you still really burned out, then the next time you go through this, turn it into a third of the time or a quarter of the time. For overestimating your capacity, the thing to do here is to get very clear about what the most important things for you to do are. Then you set up time in the beginning of your day to get those things done first, while you still have the most amount of capacity that you're going to have. We tend to wake up with the most energy, the most force that we can apply to things. So you now know what the most important thing for you to work on is, and you marshal your resources to get that thing done. When you combine this while also having an accelerated timeline of knowing that I got to make a change, I got to get out of here or have something become different in my life, you are now bringing in the most important thing. You're doing that first while also approaching a more aggressive timeline than you're accustomed to. These things together will help you make a change, and you do need a change because you're burning out. If you have a history of burning out, then you likely have a lot of unacknowledged anger. If you want help looking at that, check out this video right here. And if you want to deconstruct the thing within you that's leading to burnout in the first place, check out what I've got going on at school.